Welcome back to the Summer Practice Challenge. This week we're working on F major, an etude by Kreutzer, and one of the songs from Manuel de Falla's Canciones Populares Españolas. Welcome. Welcome to the studio. My name is Cassie and I'm a professional violist and teaching artist. If you're new here, welcome to the Summer Practice Challenge, and if you've been here before, welcome back. We always follow the same format. We're going to do our scale first, then we'll do our etude, then we'll do our solo piece. And if you'd like to skip any of those portions, you're more than welcome to. I do put timestamps below, so check those out if that's you. So we're going to get started with our F major scale, and there are two different fingering options for this. You could start it in first position and then shift on the A string, or you can do the whole thing in third position. I will put both of the fingering options on Patreon, so if you're interested in those, join us there. We would love to have you in our community. For our purposes today, I'm going to do the one that's in first position, and then I will call out when we get to the A string and we have to shift what the notes are for third position. So let's get started. We're going to do one beat per bow, and then we'll do two, and then we'll do four. Ready, set, here we go. Arpeggio on now, so that's F, A, C, F, A, C. So we're going to start on that low F, A, C, F, A, C. Now shift, back down, A, F, C, A, F. Do the minor arpeggio. So the only thing that changes is our A becomes A flat. So still starting on F, A flat, C, F, low 4, C, shift back, low 4, low 1, Now that we're warmed up in F major, we're going to move on to our Kreutzer Etude, and this is number 2 in the Kreutzer book. You might have a different edition, so it might be a different number in yours, but once you see the music, you can look for that same reference point if your edition is different than mine. And I do post links to the books. There's a free version and a purchase version, so whichever one you want, I know which one I would choose, that's available in the comments below. So this movement, or this etude, is really great because it's got like 15 different bowing variations. We're only going to choose a couple of those bowing variations, and we're only going to do a little bit of the etude, but you're always welcome to do more if you would like. So I'm going to start at the beginning of this one, and it's a bunch of 16th notes, and we're going to do like almost 3 full lines of this, because then it gets a little bit, the pattern gets a little bit different after that. We'll do it really slowly first for intonation, and then we'll talk about 3 of the different bowing variations that I want to touch on. So right at the beginning, we're going to go really, really slow. I've got my tuner on, and hopefully when you're practicing this at home, you have yours on as well. So really, really slowly just to get the feel for the piece. Low 1. Fourth finger. we'll just do that much of it, and then we'll go back. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways we could practice this. Whenever you have strings of 16th notes, you can do those odd even rhythms. We've done those before. So instead of just playing straight 16ths, you could change the rhythm around too. Or to help even that out. So that's, it's kind of included in those bowing variations. That's not one of the ones that we're going to do today, but again, you're more than welcome to do any of these different bowing variations for whatever piece you're working on that needs a little bit of extra help. We are going to do bowing variation number 2 because our piece has a little bit of off the string stuff. So let's look at that one. That one just has dots over every single note, and depending on our tempo, we could play those dots really short on the string, or we could do it a little bit faster, and that's where your bow starts to bounce and do spiccato. So spiccato is kind of dependent on the tempo. So one way to work up to that is to do it on the string but really, really short. And if you're the kind of person that tends to use excessive bow, I'm going to show you a little trick. Instead of holding your bow normally, I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to hold it at the middle. So my frog is my tip and my tip is my frog. So this way I'm severely restricting the amount of bow that I can use. So if that's you, you might want to stop the video and experiment with that if you tend to just use either the wrong part of the arm or too much bow when you're doing fast notes. So we're going to kind of make a loop out of that first measure and work our tempo up. So I'm setting my metronome to 60 to start. Will be our tempo. And then we're just going to make a loop on that first measure. On the string. Ready, go. Okay, I'm going to increase my tempo to 70 and see how that goes. Ready, set, here we go. Okay, that went all right. Let's try 80. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, maybe this is starting to get a little bit too fast and your fingers are tripping over themselves. Stop the video, go back, work yourself up 1 click at a time, 2 clicks at a time, whatever you need. We're going to keep pushing forward right now just to see where does my bow actually start to come off the string. So I'm at 90. 1, 2, ready, go. Oh, I'm still on the string. Let's see what 100 sounds like. 1, 2, ready, go. Oh, some of the bounce is starting to come in there, so maybe a little bit faster is going to get me to that spiccato. I'm at 110 now. Right in the middle of the bow, right below where your balance point is. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, so right around 110 is where it starts to bounce for me. So maybe I want to practice this starting at 90. A little more on the string. And we're going to do, let's try the first line at 90. Still on the string here, and don't, if it wants to bounce, let it bounce. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, if that was successful for you, I would suggest going up to 95. See what that sounds like. Well, 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, I can feel my bow kind of sort of starting to bounce there. So again, with your metronome, just practice working up the tempo until it is off the string. I'm going to assume that you stopped the video and you did all of that and you practiced it and you're ready for that faster tempo. So we're going to start at 105 and we're going to play to that same stopping point we had before. So it's like almost 3 complete lines. 1, 2, ready, go. If at any point when you were practicing that you noticed, oh, this spot, my fingers are always tripping up, go back and isolate either that measure or maybe it's just a group of 4 notes and do those odd even rhythms to drill that. That'll really, really help even that out. If you have never done spiccato before, I did do a video on that and I'll post that above where I never know where it shows up, and I'll also post it in the comments below so you can practice that. So we've done bowing variation number 2. I'm going to do bowing variation number 7. I think this one's a little bit trickier than bowing variation number 8. For bowing variation number 8, we have a slur and then 2 separate. This one's the opposite of that, and for whatever reason this one trips me up more where it's 2 separate, 2 slurs. Separate slur, separate slur. bow always. We're not doing this one at 110 because our goal is not to get the bow to bounce here. Our goal is to do the bowing correctly. So I'm going to be back at 70, which sounds like this. So try that with me. We'll do all 3 lines with this. Ready? Go. Comfortable, you can obviously speed up the tempo, try to go a little bit faster. Caveat is when we go faster, we always want to use less bow. So stay right in the middle of the bow if you're doing that faster. The tempting thing is on the slur is to use too much bow when you're going fast, and that gets you into trouble. I'll show you what that looks like. And then by like the 3rd group, I'm already too far at the tip. So we want to make sure that the separate notes are as long as the slur is. Or another way to think about that is the slur is kind of half as much bow as you think you should be using. So you want to be back at the same start spot. Etc. So just make sure that your bow's not creeping too far towards the frog or towards the tip when you do that bowing variation. The last variation I want to do is variation number 12. And the reason I chose this one is because in the solo piece that we're going to do, we have a couple of times where we've got notes that are long and then like a little flourish added to them. So this one kind of replicates that. So for this one, you've got a really long first note, and then all the next notes are kind of increased in rhythmic value, so they go a lot faster. So we're going to go back to 60. And it's really that same, almost that same tempo I just did. So it will be. Etc. So let's try that one. Ready? Go. Down bow. Up bow. You can always speed that up too. So if I go from 60 to 80, it will sound like this. Ready, go. Etc. So the faster you go, again, your bow distribution is going to change. If it's a really fast tempo, it's going to feel like your bow speed is really, really fast. If it's a slower tempo, it might feel like you're struggling to save bow. And that's, again, why this etude is really, really great for bowing stuff, because there's so many different options. There's stuff that you're going to encounter in a lot of your solo pieces here. So the goal eventually is kind of to memorize what the notes are so that you can look at the bowing variation and make sure that your bow is doing the correct thing. Every etude has a different focus, and this one just happens to be more bow-centric. So with that, we're going to move on to our solo piece. So our solo piece for this week is the second movement of the 7 popular Spanish songs. I did this as one of the pieces on my doctoral dissertation, and I just love this piece so very much. There's a really great edition, performance edition by Kim Kashkashian, if you want to check that out. My edition is really inspired by her performance of this. So this was a work that was originally written for piano and voice, and violins have transcribed it, cellos have transcribed it, violas have transcribed it. So I think it's a pretty well-known piece in the music world, and I'm really glad that we're working on it this week. So because it was originally a vocal piece, I think it's really important to understand what the lyrics are talking about. Basically, Seguidilla is like a dance form from Spain. It starts on the offbeat, it's usually in 3/4 time, it's usually fast, it's usually in a major key, and this piece fits all of those bills. So the lyrics essentially are talking about, it's kind of like a scorned lover. At the beginning, they're saying that people who live in glass houses really shouldn't throw stones. And the second half moves on to talk about, it's a metaphor, basically saying, I'm going to compare you to a coin that gets passed from hand to hand. That's how unfaithful you've been. So while it is a very upbeat and happy sounding song, the lyrics are kind of a little bit dark, which I particularly love. So for this one, there's a lot of things we have to talk about. I'm going to go right from the beginning. The etude that we just did had some off the string stuff, and right at the very beginning, instead of playing these eighth notes on the string, so rest, they're gonna, because of our tempo, they're gonna bounce a little bit. So it's a rest. Then the hard part here is going from off the string to on the string and setting. So let's practice that. 1 and 2 and 3 and rest. Set. Do that one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and rest. Set. Now, oftentimes what happens is you get a bounce on the set note or the longer note, so it will sound like this. You get that bounce there. The goal is to take an extra split second and really set it on the string before you try to engage in that long bow. So moving on, I'm going to go right from that same pickup measure we just started on. Now we're going to go a whole bow to the middle of the bow here, and then instead of staying just in first position, I'm going to shift to second position. So that's another thing that we have to talk about. Let's back up to measure 4. The rhythm here is 1 and 2 and 3 and. So those little twiddles, they're just kind of ornaments, and we want to do them as close to the start of the next measure or beat 1 as possible. So I don't want to hear, that's kind of lazy sounding. We want to do them as quickly as possible. And the last bowing variation that we did in the etude is going to really help with that. So really light fingers there. You don't want to kind of sink into the string and keep sinking in. Keep your fingers light. And we're, again, always lifting and plopping from that bass knuckle or your lowest knuckle. So let's do that shift in measure 5. So I start on an open A, and secretly underneath I'm doing 1 on E, shifting to F natural, which brings me to second position, and then I'm going to plop my 3 on that A. So we're going to do all of that sounded. So open A, play 1 E, shift, then plop 3. And the goal is that it match that open A we just played. Let's do that one more time. 1, 1, plop. Now we have to do that silently, so we don't want to hear that shift. 1, 1, plop 3. And it should match. You may need to stop the video and practice that a few times, but if that's you, by all means do that. We're going to start in measure 5 and continue on. So I'm on open A, shift, then same idea here, all the way to the tip, quick. That's the end of our first phrase, and we want to do a diminuendo there. So let's go all the way back to the beginning, see if we can put those pieces together. 1 and 2 and 3 and rest. Off the string, on. Shift. Diminuendo. Then we've got a little bit of a piano interlude. Our next entrance is measure 11. It's the same idea here. We're going to be off the string. So it's set, off. Set, off. Then we've got some double stops to contend with here. So in measure 13, my first note is going to be slurred to open D without a double stop, and then I have double stop, octave. Now we're going to leave that third finger on the A string, plop your 2 right next door, release it a little early, because the next 2 is a low 2 on the A string. So let's try all of that. We're going to do right on measure 13, which is our D octaves. Set your 2, release early, low 2. And then those are off the string, same idea as before. shift, except we have a double stop to worry about. So I'm shifting to that third finger, and I'm going to plot my 2 on the G string a whole step away, so they should not be touching. Then leave your 3 set, and it's a low 1. Then shift everybody back to first position. And 1 and 2 will touch. I did fail to mention at the beginning that this is all in treble clef, and if you need help with treble clef, let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to share a sheet that I have with you that shows how the treble clef notes correspond to the alto clef notes. So we're going to do that second phrase again. This is measure 11. These are off the string to start. So it's a rest, off, slur, set that 2, shift, low 1, shift. And then same idea, we'll diminuendo to end that phrase. If you are struggling with any of this, stop the video, practice it in isolation. Again, I'm just giving you a bunch of ideas to practice through here. My assumption is always that you're stopping the video to work on all these little different parts. So we're gonna right now continue on. If you're ready, we're in measure 23, and again, we're starting in second position. It's a really popular position for this piece. So find that 3, and these are gonna be on the string. The text has changed here, so we're gonna change our articulation to reflect that. So second position, all the way to the middle here. We don't want to go all the way to the tip because we've got a bunch of 8th notes that are off the string after that. So we're going to save middle of the bow. First position. And those again, twiddles are going to be as fast as you can. Not. So think in your head. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's try that one more time, that whole phrase. Find second position. Whoops, let me find second position. Middle of the bow. Off the string a little bit. This is the same as before. Shift to second position. Plop that 2 low. First position. So that third phrase is kind of similar to the second phrase in that the ending is kind of almost exactly the same. So you practice it once, you get it for free the second time. I really love that. Let's do that whole phrase. So this is measure 23 again. So these start on the string, second position, 1 and 2. The next portion is kind of a choose your own adventure. I like doing this one up the octave because it provides a little bit of contrast. If I was a vocalist, I could change a whole bunch of things about how I sing this, how I interpret it. We have somewhat fewer options as violists, but one of our options is to change the register. So I'm going to do it first in first position. It's kind of the same thing as we had at the beginning, right? Which is why I chose to change the register and just have a little bit of contrast. So if you want to try it up the octave, which that's what 8VA means, we're going to find 1, our harmonic, on that A, and then I'm going to climb up. So it's 1 on A, low 2 B flat, and then third finger C. And that's our starting note. So it's 3, low 2, now I'm on a 1 for that harmonic. Because I have notes that are lower than that, I have to do a finger replacement. So my 1 becomes a 3. And what I did was I took my 1 and shifted down, and I replaced it with my 3. So let's try that. Find that 1 again, which is your harmonic octave. Climb up, low 2, 3, and start that phrase again. This is 35. Shift and replace. Now my finger pattern when I start out there is 1 and 2 touch. When I do that finger replacement shift, 3, 2, and 1 don't touch. So it's a whole tone pattern. So you might need to, again, stop the video, practice that little section up the octave if that's you that wants to try that. Remember, our spacings as we go down the fingerboard or get closer to the bridge get tighter. So whole steps are going to feel a lot smaller. Half steps are going to feel really, really small when you're up that high. All right, our next entrance, we've got a bunch of octaves and we've got some other alternative play and up an octave up sections. We're gonna do it an octave down right now to start. So I measure 46, 45, 44, 43, where we've got those C octaves. Let's just do everything in first position. It's rest, rest, retake, shift again, second position. Okay, so that's the first position only option. If we want to do all those crazy shifts, I'm going to start back at the same spot, except I'm going to do those open Cs in first position. Then these guys are going to be in third position. So it's 1, 4. Now it's open, and then I'm going to shift to that same spot we were on the A string to find that harmonic. I've also got one on the D string. So I'm going to play my open Ds and find that harmonic with my 1. Well, that was a little bit too high. Let's try that again. Then I'm going to go up one more octave. I'm going to extend my 3. Let's try that one more time. Play those open Ds. One on the harmonic. Now extend your 3. Retake. Whole step. Here, you're going to finger replace again. Whole step. Half step. Finger replace. So after I play that really high D, my finger pattern again is whole tone. So it's D is 3, C is 2, B flat is 1. When I do that finger replacement on measure 46, 47, 48, it's similar, but here instead my 2 and my 1 are my half steps. So 2 and 1 will touch there. Let's try that whole thing in the crazy high octave one more time. So back from the C octaves. Third position, shift, extend, retake, whole tone, replace, half step, replace. All right, again, you might need to stop the video, practice that. We're on to our next entrance, which is measure 53, 54, 55. Back in our favorite position for this piece, second position. So it's 1 and 2. Half step to 1, and then cross 2. Shift to first position, low 1. You got double stops here, so set your 1, and then your 2 will be a half step or touching right next to it. Release 1 early. So here my 1's got a lot of work to do. So after I start that double stop in 60, release early to a low 1, hop low 1. Now we're going to shift again to second position. Leave your 3 set, reach backwards with your 2. First position. So a lot of that stuff is familiar material from page 1. Our last entrance are just going to be in regular old first position. Set your 2, then set your 3. And I'm going to aim for the middle string. So I'm aiming for the D string, and it's going to be a really quick pull. So let's try that one more time. Set. We don't want to hear because it's only an 8th note. So really aim for that middle string, pull quickly. All right, we've done our kind of talk through. We're going to do a slow playthrough, and then we'll be a more close to tempo playthrough. So right from the beginning. 1 and 2 and 3 and rest. Next entrance, 2 and 3 and rest. Shift. Next entrance, back in third position on the string. 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. right, next entrance, we're going to do it up in the crazy high octave. Find that 1, climb up to 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Shift. Okay, back, find third position. 2 and 3 and 1. Shift. Okay, back to second position on the string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. Last entrance. 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. Alright, I hope you're still with me. We're going to do our at-tempo playthrough, and I'm not going to count the rest. I'm just going to kind of go to the next entrance. If you have a pianist that you love and want to play with, piano parts are not too difficult to play along with. Or you can also, I'll post that Kim Kashkashian recording in the link below. You can just play along with that because it's pretty true to what she does. So let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Next entrance. Next entrance. That you love that solo as much as I do. All 7 of these pieces are really different in character and they're really lovely to explore. They're not too difficult. The difficult part obviously is in the interpretation, and there's always a lot of things that we didn't talk about. So if there's something I skipped that you're struggling with, please post that in the comments below. If you have any requests for future videos, please post those in the comments below too, because I really enjoy trying to help from afar. As always, thank you so much for joining me, and happy practicing.